Hey everybody, welcome to this free live training. My name is Jordan Berry with the Be Ready Coalition. My dad, Doug Berry, is going to be doing the presentation tonight, but I'm just getting on here. We're going to go through just a couple things here before he hops on. This is going to be about a 30 to 45 minute training for anybody. But first off, if you could hop in the chat on your screen there and let us know where you're tuning in from, where you're watching from. It's always interesting to see how many people are all over the world right now watching. So this live training is on family and preparedness, talking to your loved ones about preparing and being safe. So we have holidays coming up just around the corner here. Got Christmas, New Year's following right after. And this is a time when a lot of family comes into town or people travel to go see family. And something we get asked a lot at BRC is, how do we talk to family members about preparing, being safer, without looking pushy or trying to guide the conversation too much. So that's what we're going to get into tonight. We got some good skills that we think would be great to pass on to kids, grandkids, and also some tactics to kind of approach this topic with family members. All right, so we're going to get moving through the slides here. All right, first off, just want to thank you guys so much for being on this live training tonight. I know everybody is very busy during the week, especially, like I just said, with Christmas around the corner. So your most valuable asset is your time and your attention, and we promise to do our very best to give a positive return. So again, thank you to everybody who's joining in today. All right, I'm going to introduce my dad here, Doug Berry. He has been doing preparedness work for well over a decade and has been a public speaker for 30 plus years. Been traveling all over the globe, something that I grew up just being a part of. And let's see here. He saw the trajectory of society and knew he had to start preparing. He knew his family was counting on him to be prepared, and he has created. We've created a new way of preparing to get ready in a fraction of the time. We're going to go into this more in a few minutes here. Let's see here. Looks like he might be having a few technical issues with his camera there. He's working to get it up now. So in the chat over there on the right, go ahead and let me know where you guys are tuning in from. If you have any questions that you want, we are going to have a Q&A at the end of the session. So if you want to ask any questions in the chat on the right there, we can post it up and we'll answer that at the end of the live here. All right, Dad, you're live on the screen.
Yep. How you doing?
Doing good.
Yeah, I had a technical issue there. Sorry, getting signed on here.
That's what I figured. So,
but yeah, something. I had drones flying overhead. I just couldn't. I was buzzing them, shooting them away. They're all over the place.
There's a lot of that going on right now. It seems like.
Hey, everybody, good to have you out there. For those of you who are going to watch this on the replay, we appreciate you joining us on this. So how you doing, son?
Doing good. All right, we just went through a little bit at the beginning. I told everybody if they want to post any questions on the screen, we'll get to it at the end.
Awesome.
And we're ready to start with the prayer whenever you are.
Perfect. All right, let's do it, everybody. In the name of the Father, of the Son, of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. Saint Joseph, terror of demons, pray for us. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Awesome. All right. So, this is one of those information videos and, not really webinar, I guess, is not what we're really calling this, right, son? But we just... Right. We wanted to do this in part because we know for all of you out there, you got a lot of kids that are home right now from Christmas break. If there's anything that I have heard over the years in checking out, different conferences and talks and places that I've been, parents concerned for their children, especially when they're away at college. And there are some basic things that we run into regularly with BR Coalition, parents that are concerned about their child knowing just the basics. And there's some general rules that are just good to know. And while we want to teach our kids things about the faith, absolutely most important piece, we also want them to be safe. You hear stories regularly in the news of people that get hurt or they get lost or they get stranded or cars break down or they get stuck on a highway. They don't know how to change a flat tire. They don't know how to handle the certain emergency here or there. And we wanted to address all of these things. So, son, I know you've got a nice little presentation put together here. We're going to break this down. Yeah, you want to take it from here? You want me to step in? What are we going to do here now?
Nope. Yep. I'm just going to hop off and
Okay.
let you take it. I'll go through the slides and we'll meet back up at the end. So.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks, son.
All right,
Appreciate it.
thanks.
All right, everybody. So why should we be prepared? Honestly, this is one of those questions that, we run into a lot. We live in a society, in a world really where there are a lot of people that just that camera there. You got a lot of people out there who, it's so easy for us just to call somebody to help when there's a problem. So why would we have to worry about taking care of anything on our own necessarily? And we do run into that a lot. We know that, you can always call AAA if you got car problems and you're stranded on the side of the road, you're out of gas, you get lost somewhere. It's easy just to pull up GPS and just get your directions off of your phone and have someone tell you what turn to take, turn left, turn right, keep going. They even give you a certain markers on the road, turn left at the Chick-fil-A, and you can even pick the voice. You can do a British accent. There, yes, turn left at the Chick-fil-A. You can do all different types of male, female, different voices, different accents. We have such luxury when it comes to even getting to and from places. So we're very used to being cared for. So why be prepared? One example before we move on here is just consider what's going on with the whole story with the drones. We got drones all over New Jersey and other states out there, right? And so when we hear stories of drones out there flying around and people are concerned and they're asking authorities to fix the problem, this is one of those things where we just are always relying on somebody else to step in and take care of the situation. Well, it shows us that there are vulnerabilities in our society out there, vulnerabilities that put us in a box, sometimes in a small box, kind of like I am right there on the screen. We're in a small box of just our own little parameters, our own little world. And what it boils down to sometimes is we have to understand that we've got to get out of that box sometimes and be thinking differently when it comes to these things, because it is critical that we realize that we might be in a situation sometime where we just don't have the ability to rely on other people. We've got to rely on ourselves. So we need to be prepared because things are fragile. Okay. Time is fragile. Things are fragile in the world. And we have to be aware of the fact that that fragility oftentimes can put us in a bit of danger. So that's why we should be prepared, because we know there are things in the world that can go wrong. We want our kids to be prepared when they're away at college, when they're in high school. We should be training them in these things, just like we teach them how to drive. We get behind the wheel, we show them. Okay, we've got, whether it's a manual or an automatic transmission, you get your blinkers, you got your brakes, keep your distance from the vehicle in front of you. What happens when you come to a four-way stop and two cars stop at the same time, one on the right goes first and so forth. We go through these things with them, but oftentimes we don't get into the details of being prepared for emergencies when they're away from us, whether they're driving or away at college or somewhere else down the road. And don't mistake this. What we teach them now will carry on in many ways the rest of their life. Go ahead and send a message in and ask my son the things that I taught him. He has taken on himself. He's expanded from the information I gave him as a child when he was young, and he's grown from there and done much more. One of the key things was an emergency bag. We did the emergency bag. We had an emergency bag Christmas one time. I had all my kids pick the bags they want. We bought them bags and then added little things to the bags. And then as they've gone through life, they've tweaked those bags to their own needs. Right now, my son has children, so he has to now look at an emergency bag differently with children and a wife than when he was single. Having a go bag or an emergency bag is a simple thing. It's a bag. Keep it in your vehicle, and it's easy to carry. Here's an example of one. I have a couple different types of bags. This is a very simple bag here. It's a good quality one. I've had cheaper ones. You can buy a $20 backpack from Walmart. Some people just do not want to shop at Walmart. I get that. Maybe you don't want to go there. That's cool. That's fine. You can go online. You get one from, I don't know, a nicer store if you like, or order them online. This is more of a heavy duty bag. It doesn't rip and tear. It's got heavier duty zippers and so forth. This is something I can lightweight travel with me and keep basic things in it that could actually save lives. And that is something we have to remember, is that we're talking about being prepared to handle challenges that may come our way when we're out and about, and we want our kids to be prepared for that. Teach these things to your kids. This is a video that's going to be posted on BR Coalition YouTube channel and Doug Barry YouTube channel. You can go out and watch this over and over again. Share it with your kids. Write these points down. This information is 110% free, and it's not complicated. It's a great way to get started. Things you want to keep in the bag, things like extra food. Maybe keep beef jerky, protein bars, things like that nature. You want to keep little beef sticks in there, something like that in there. You're going to keep maybe extra water or a water filter. I keep a miniature filter in there that I can screw on the top of a water bottle. And therefore, that water bottle I can draw water out of a lake, out of a stream if I want. And with that on the top, I can drink that water. Bandages, a med kit, a tourniquet, extra clothing, depending upon your climate, where you live, multi-tools, little tiny multi-purpose tools, easy, simple to have on hand. It's got screwdrivers, knife, file. All these are good items, and you can adjust these things easily, and your child can too. All right. When they're out about, they're going to tweak things and think, you know what, I'm going to add that to my bag. You know what, this I don't need in my bag right now. Extra pair of gloves. I like to keep gloves in mine. I want to keep the hands protected, not just in cold weather only, but if you're in a crisis situation, you want to protect your hands so they don't get cut up. I keep maybe a little tiny travel bottle of foot powder. If you got to walk a long distance, you want to have something that you can pop there in your socks, and make sure you keep your feet from getting blistered. Okay, blisters are going to slow you down and create problems. These are little things. Showing these things to your teenagers, to your kids, teaching them this will give them that mindset that as they grow and go through life, they will easily understand that they can tweak these things as they need as they go through life. Talking about doomsday prepping, by the way, or apocalypse with family members can be a good way to lose their attention. There's a simple way to go about this. Just talk about the reality of life. You can share stories with them. You can give them different points of view, different circumstances where somebody here, somebody there who ran into this and ran into that and was able to draw from their emergency bag in their car. And they had some extra things in there, warm pair of socks, pair of gloves, extra stocking cap, medical kit, things like that. So you're sharing day-to-day real life experiences with them that happen to people all the time. But it doesn't have to be the sky is falling type level apocalypse. Are there going to be chastisements to the world? I don't know. Look at Ukraine right now. Look what those people are going through. Look at what happens when you have warring nations. Yes, that's a reality. But look at a flat tire. Look at a snowstorm that can leave you stranded on a highway. Look at what it is to run out of gas or have a car breakdown, and then realize that you might need a few items just to make do until somebody shows up to help you. So we're not encouraging you to sit down. Your kids are home, maybe for college, for winter break, Christmas break, to sit down and talk about the heaviness of the world and things falling apart. That's up to you. But let's just simply start off by saying, hey, here's some things to think about. Do you know how to change a tire? Do you know how to fix a tire? Do you know how to make sure that you can jumpstart a dead battery on your car? How about an emergency bag? Let's talk about that and then break it down. If you go to our website, brcoalition.com, we do have a free go bag checklist. You can download that go bag checklist and get all these items, other ideas of what I just mentioned and more. You can go out there and that will get you started the right way. All right, get that free go bag download on our website, brcoalition.com. All right, but we want to encourage people to look at everyday situations and be prepared for just that which might happen at any given moment. So again, brcoalition.com, see on the bottom of the screen there. We'll have links in the information below this video, and that will get you started with a good go bag checklist completely free. Number 2, can your family member, your kids, your wife, your husband, can they change a tire or jumpstart a dead battery? Now, fortunately, we're living in a world right now where we don't have to worry about going to somebody else to jumpstart our cars. A lot of people grew up, I did, with that. I got to have, 8, 10, 12-foot jumper cables. And if my battery's dead, I've got to flag down another vehicle and ask them if I can jumpstart off of their vehicle. Now we have all kinds of devices. We like the brand NOCO, N-O-C-O. And this is a great brand of a little battery jump starter. Now, other brands that are out there can work just fine too. That's the one we've used several times and it works great. And so when your battery's dead, you pull this little device out. It's about the size of a large, charging battery, little battery bricks that you hear or see. And then you've got a couple of little cables that go on your 2 terminals. You hit the on switch and then you start up your car. And these things will hold a good 15 to 20 charges in general. A lot of them have an extra light on it, like a flashlight, and you can actually see little charging ports on them because it could be used as a battery bank to charge your phone, your laptop, if you need that as well. So it's a good all-purpose battery that can do multiple things. That is a tremendous option to have. Now, they run anywhere from $80 to $100 or more, depending on the version that you buy. But I've used mine several times, even on my riding lawnmower, and it has been incredibly efficient. So that's something. Teach your children, teach them, your loved ones, your family members, how to jumpstart a dead battery, whether it's off of another vehicle, in which case you're going to need the jumper cables, or through something like these little jumpstart devices like a NOCO battery charger. They are very, very helpful to have. The skills, and fewer people know them, but these are skills that can save lives, and they can help you if you're in an area where you don't have cell service. Because again, I know, because I've asked the questions all over the place, what are you going to do if your battery dies? I'm just going to call somebody and they'll come and save me. You might be in an area where you can't get that call, or it's going to take a while for them to get there, or it's a more dangerous situation and you got to get out of that area a little sooner than later. So learn the skill of jump starting a battery, again, with the little NOCO type charger or other brands, or of course, if you use jumper cables, understand how that operates as well. Also, we want to turn these teaching lessons into something fun. So we want to show them once, and you want to let them do it for themselves, have them build that confidence. All right. And we always want to be thinking about, as you see there, be safe when you're working around and with vehicles. And so there are different things that have to be factored in with regards to understanding, where you're touching the terminals with the battery, with the little jumper cables and so forth. And all the instructions are in these kits. All right. They're easy to find, or there are many, many videos out there on YouTube of showing how to go about doing this. So this is a small investment. It really is a small investment for a much, much bigger reward. All right. So again, I can't encourage it enough. Get that jump start down and get the tire, changing a tire or patching a tire down. Okay. We don't want to underestimate when it comes to fixing a tire. Now, I'll give you a quick thing on the tire. One, do we know how to get the tire off, jack up the vehicle, pull the lug nuts off, put the new tire on, tighten it down the right direction where you're crossing over with the lug nuts. You're not going in a circle clockwise or counterclockwise. You want to alternate back and forth on those lug nuts so you pull the tire in correctly. And you want to make sure you've got of course, your vehicle is going to be jacked up the right way. Know where the jack goes. Block the tire is a good idea. Make sure the parking brake's on. It's in park. Parking brakes on, and you're blocking a tire that's on the ground to keep the vehicle from rolling so it doesn't roll off the jack. Try to never get under the vehicle as you're working on it. If you're on the side of a road, it's always good to have some sort of light, flashing light, like a red flashing light. Have your hazards on, but a red flashing light that you can set on the pavement between the road and the car, so that you're able to let oncoming traffic see that you're there. If you've got to change a flat, you want to get out of the line of fire, so to speak, and get off of the main road. These are basic things to know when changing a tire. Also, they have tire plug kits. Now, I've used these. They work great. Basically, you don't even have to jack up the tire. If the footprint of the tire, the flat part that touches the road, has a puncture from a nail or a screw, something of that nature, and you can pull it out, you can plug that hole with these kits, and then you're going to need a small air compressor. You can buy these for $60 or $70. Bullseye is a good brand. I've used it several times. You can pump up your tire. You can pump up a basketball. You can pump up a football, a bike tire. It's just a great inflatable, any inflatable device that you have, these little air compressors can work on. You set the air pressure on it, hit the trigger, and walk away from it if you have to, and it'll stop at that point, 30 pounds, 35 pounds, whatever you set it for. You're going to need this with your tire patch kit. Combined, the tire patch kit can be anywhere from $10 to $15 to $30, depending on the brand and the style you get. The air compressor is going to be a good 50, 60, maybe 70 in that ballpark, and there's different brands. So for less than $100, you can have a little air compressor that can work on multiple things in your home, and you can have a little patch kit and then teach the family how to handle this and use this. You never have to take the tire off the vehicle. If the wall of the tire is damaged, it's ripped or cut because you've hit something sharp on a curb, or you've turned and gone off into a ditch and you've hit something, this type of patch kit is not really going to work on something like that. So again, you've got to have the right kind of damaged tire for this type of patch kit to work. But they're simple and they're easy. They don't take much time. I passed a tire on my car, took me, and I'm not exaggerating, 15 minutes. Start to finish, 15 minutes, and it was completed. And it's held just fine. So again, simple procedure, learn the skills, great investment. Your kid's away at college, they get a flat tire, dead battery. Give them the confidence to know how to handle that by making the time and the investment now so that they can be in a much better position if something like that happens. Number 3, can your loved ones get home and navigate without a GPS? This is a common problem for a lot of people, is if our phone goes down and our GPS isn't there, a lot of people feel like they're basically stranded. And a lot of people would have no idea. Some people can't even get across town without their GPS. And that is a problem. Now, I don't go anywhere. And some of you, older, old school people know what this is like, to live a life where you have on hand, hold on, I got to put it in the correct pouch here. All right. And this is something that I think we need to be thinking more about, an atlas. All right. Talk about a nice little Christmas gift to give your loved one, an atlas. It's a simple 50 states, all of them right here. Okay. Yeah, it's going to be tough if I'm in Florida to drive to Hawaii, but you get the point, right? Is having an atlas and knowing how to read a map. If GPS goes down, and it could, we will be a lot of people in the dark. And even those of us who are older, who grew up with maps, we could read road signs, mile markers on the side of a highway, on the side of an interstate. Know what that mile marker number means? There's a reason why they're every mile, they mark the mile. Right? Some people have no clue what this stuff is all about. And we become so reliant on our modern technology that we can very easily forget what it means to actually have to initiate our own way of keeping track of where we are and how to get somewhere. So it's not a bad idea to just put that GPS down sometime and just say, hey, we're going off a map. Let's learn how to use the map. If families did this once in a while, you train your children, they'd be much better off down the road. No pun intended. All right, teach your children, your grandchildren these skills. All right, make it fun. Practice once in a while. Have a good time with it. Okay, these are skills that we can build in them that will add confidence in their life. Look, there are people out there, we all know this, and it might even be you or me, right? Where if that phone is not within arm's length, like I can't reach that phone, we feel like we're missing out on everything. So when it comes to our emails, our text messages, got to get a picture of this, got to take a picture of my latest lunch and post it on my social media, kind of crazy stuff like that. But even getting somewhere with my GPS, I love GPS. It works great. I like to look things up and find out if this business or that restaurant is open and so forth. However, if the GPS goes away, can I do it all with a map? So these are good skills to learn for many, many different reasons. Number 4 is situational awareness. Now, what do we mean by situational awareness? Being aware of our circumstances at all times. Face it, when we teach our children to drive, what's one of the things that we tell them? Hands on the wheel, don't get distracted. Don't get distracted with the radio. Don't get distracted, when you're looking around, paying attention to something that's happening over here. Look at the road in front of you. Pay attention to your surroundings. Make sure that you're checking your corners, your rearview mirror, and your side mirrors. Know what is around you at all times. There's a term called keep your head on a swivel. So you're constantly paying attention to what's around you. When your kids are out and about, when any of your loved ones are out and about, it's always good to pay attention to what's going on around us. We walk through life sometimes with our head down on our phone, and this is all we're doing. I've seen people walk through parking lots with their head down on their phone, paying no attention to cars driving around them. I've been going through airports, sometimes in a hurry, and someone's right in front of you, and they just stop in the middle of the airport because they're on their phone, and people all around them might even be bumping into them because they're not paying attention to their situation. They're not aware. Your number one self-defense weapon in life is your brain. It's not even how to fight like this. It's what's going on in here. So keeping aware of your situation, your circumstances. For example, if you're exercising in a fitness center and you got your water bottle over here, your thermos, never take your eyes off it. Keep aware of where that water bottle, that thermos is, so someone doesn't come along, put something in it that could drug you. Yes, these things do happen at times. Don't take your eyes off of your food and your drink when you're out in public or around other people. Obviously, safe at home is one thing that's different. We're talking about in public. Be aware of your situation at all times. Just like when you're driving down the road, you wouldn't want a distracted driver, someone who's on their phone texting or talking or looking down at the radio. We want undistracted drivers. It saves lives. So these are things to remind our loved ones, teach your kids, especially when they're out and about on their own and they're going through life, teach them to keep aware of their situation at all times. There are a lot of dangerous scenarios and situations in the world, and we can avoid them if we're aware of our situation. We want to stay vigilant. We want to teach the family members, keep that watchful eye, especially in public. These are very important things to remind people of. And then we want to practice what we preach. So I don't want to be telling my kids, hey, don't text and drive, and then they see me driving down the road and texting. There needs to be discipline on all of our parts when it comes to these things so that we're not just saying it, but we're living it. When it comes to having an emergency bag, when it comes to showing my kids that I can operate without a GPS, I can operate with a map, that I'm going to keep aware of my circumstances. And here's another one I'm going to throw in here too. These are the top 4 we wanted to go through, and then we're going to get into questions, but I want to throw a couple more things in just for a little bonus information here. One is, let's make sure, as a rule of thumb, we keep the vehicle in good shape. Check the air pressure, get the oil changes done, make sure that the gas tank is at no less than half full. That's a good rule. You set your own benchmark however you want, of course, but I set mine at half full is empty. So when I start getting near half, I go to the gas station and top it off. In fact, most of the time it's 3/4 or full, because I want to keep a good amount of gasoline in there. On a long road trip, I might let it go a little bit longer, but not much, because I want to make sure I got plenty of gas in there in case something happens and I can't get to a gas station, or something happens and the gas stations are shut down, or there's a weather condition and you're stranded in the snow and you're on the side of the road and you got 1/8 of a tank of gas and that engine is providing heat for you in that vehicle. And then you run out of gas and you run out of heat in general. So what we're talking about is keeping aware of even the situation of your vehicle's maintenance, gas tank level, oil changes, even keeping the vehicle clean. These are good acts of discipline that when we teach our loved ones these things, it's a great type of discipline that will help them in other areas of their life. Your kid who comes back from college, ask them the questions. Hey, Jimmy, do you know how to change a tire? Hey, Susan, do you know how to jumpstart a vehicle? Hey, what on average is your gas tank at? Oh, why are you, if they give you that kind of, why are you bothering me? Just tell them, I love you. Let's learn it. It's a good thing to learn. When we're talking to our family members about being prepared, the idea here about prepared, not scared, I would say there's a difference between anxiety and urgency. Anxiety is fear, wringing the hand, don't know what I'm going to do. And anxiety can paralyze you to the point where we just don't know what to do in a certain crisis or a certain difficult situation. It doesn't even have to be a crisis. It can just be a challenging moment. But urgency tells us, hey, you know what? There's something that needs to get done. If I'm prepared and if I'm trained and I know what to do, that moment of urgency becomes something that gets accomplished, and then good things can happen from that. So when you talk to your family members about preparing, as we mentioned earlier, we want to focus on the positive aspect of preparedness. All right. And what good can come from being ready. We want to show examples, of good people, maybe save someone's life because they were prepared. I know stories of people who were driving down the road and they saw a car accident. I know at least 2 people this has happened to, and they jumped out of the car, had a tourniquet in their vehicle, were able to put a tourniquet on someone. That was one situation. The other one, someone was just bleeding badly and they put some pressure on the wound and were able to make a call to 911. But the point is, they were people who had enough presence of mind to see the accident, get out, go over, see if they could address the situation and try to help out, possibly saving lives in these cases. All right, so maybe lead with the conversation, instead of about the carnage of disaster. Okay, that could be a quick way to get somebody kind of turned off. Work it in where you're saying, hey, you know what? Here's some good things that can be done by being better prepared. Here's some good results from these types of things, like learning the Heimlich maneuver or CPR. These are very good things to learn as well. And when we share that kind of information with people, you build that preparedness and that training. You give a real sense of confidence to people. And if one of the things we want our loved ones to have in life, especially your children when they're going off to college to learn about life, to learn whatever whatever they're studying, their major, whatever they want to do with their life, they're trying to learn how to figure these things out. Some of the most important things to learn are these things: how to take care of ourselves in a day-to-day situation by the vehicle, situational awareness, emergency bags on hand, knowing how to jumpstart a car, how to change or patch a tire. These are very basic things. Now, we just hit you with like 4 main things and a couple small information pieces like gas tank and keeping a vehicle clean. Why? Well, because they help the bigger picture. They get our minds thinking the right direction. And that's a big part of being better prepared. We want you to go out to brcoalition.com if you want to learn more. We've got several free downloads out there. Go check them out, and other different courses and things that we have are out there as well. But in general, this information we wanted to share with you. We want you to share this video with other people. We want you to help other people be better prepared, because the better prepared we are, then the more of a gift we can make ourselves to society and to others in the world. And that's a very important thing to think about. Okay, is what am I doing for those around me? What information am I sharing with them? What kind of training am I giving to my children, my grandchildren? And how can they rely on me? And that's a key thing about preparedness that I think a lot of people might forget, is when we are better prepared and we show that we have certain skills in things like even taking care of a vehicle, having an emergency bag, learning how to put a tourniquet on someone who's injured, making sure we know how to jumpstart a vehicle or plug a tire, fix a tire, that air compressor, and get that tire reinflated. When we are that type of person, people can count on us. And it's a good thing to know that we can rely on other people. It's a good thing to know people can rely on us. One of the best ways we can make a gift in this Christmas season, to use this kind of segue here, is we want to make a gift of ourselves to others by being the type of people that spiritually and naturally can be an asset. We can help them. We can help them get through life better and help them understand what confidence means, what trustworthiness means. So these are some really good basic things to share with your loved ones to get the balls rolling. There are many other things we could go into. My son is back on with us here, so we're going to address, I know he's been paying attention to the comments that have been coming in, and we can address some of these things and any of the things that we've been thinking about. I mean, Jordan grew up with this. He knows what it's like. Christmas time, hey, kids, pick your own go bag. And we went out and bought basic things like Advil, and bandages. And we started there. And from there, we've grown to many other things. And now my son and I and others, we have a business now that helps people get better prepared. So great job with the slideshow, son.
Yeah, thank you. Good job presenting.
Street right there. Is that a picture from your neighborhood?
No, that's not actually. I wish I could take pictures like that.
It's a nice one with the storm back there.
It is, yeah. Well, we don't have any questions on the chat so far, but I don't know if there's anything you wanted to bring up before we close it out. I think we're going on about 30 minutes. I said between 30, 40 minutes for everybody who was on. So,
well, one of the things that would be nice to hear from anybody out there, if you want to go to brcoalition.com and hit the contact button and, send us a message if you like, or just pop it in the comment section on the video here, is if this has been helpful to you. We'd like to do this more often. We'd like to do a monthly training of some sort on some level that encourages people to just take steps, small steps even, like we talked about here, to get better prepared. So if anybody feels like this has been helpful and can be helpful to you, then please let us know. We'd like to do more of these types of things. Because again, one of the things that I run into when I talk to parents whose kids are away at college is they're concerned. Okay, well, my son doesn't do anything. He doesn't have any extra food or water. He doesn't do anything to take care of his vehicle. He doesn't know how to jumpstart a car. He doesn't know how to change a tire. They're all thinking, oh no, there's a problem. And I know of stories of a college student who's 1,500 miles away from home, has car trouble of some sort, and calls dad 1,500 miles away. Not a bad thing to do, but it can be sometimes the simplest thing. Well, what's the problem? Well, I got a flat tire. What do I do? You're 1,500 miles away. And so give them that knowledge now. Give them the information now. Get them started on the right path now. Jordan, I'm curious, when it comes to you being raised this way, do you believe this has helped you in other areas? Like, has it given you the mindset to think of other things in your life, just in general, where you need to be disciplined and prepared, other than just the types of things that we talked about tonight?
Definitely, yeah. Growing up, being around it and being taught at a young age to do this stuff, it wasn't just learning the specific skill of changing a tire or jump starting a car. It was much more just getting used to the idea that every problem has a solution. And you can figure it out. And it might not always be the job you see done in a mechanic shop or some professional doing it, but if you can get from A to B, that's all that matters. So we've had several situations where it's definitely come in handy. Mid intersection jump start one time. That was back when I was still a teenager. me and my sister were trying to get to the shop and died on the way. But yeah, looks like we have a question that just came in from Mary. What about radios for communication? What type besides cell phones?
So I was just looking up something. Someone also popped in here the question about thank you for the help, the info for the side charger to jumpstart. I'm pulling up a link here just off of Amazon. This is the NOCO. I believe this is the one that we had gotten, if I'm not mistaken. The GB41,000 Ultra Safe. It's for a 12 volt battery pack. It'll work on 6.0 up to 6.0 liter gasoline engines and diesel. All right, so this will get a lot of you started. Go out and check that link right there, and that will take you out to Amazon and get you started. This is the NOCO brand that we have. It's very, very, very effective, very efficient.
It looks like it might have cut that link off.
Oh, did I?
I'm not sure. As far as the radios for communication, I mean, we've dabbled in ham radios a little bit. We haven't gotten licensed to actually talk on it, but I have got my ham radio. I think I got you can get it for pretty cheap, honestly. But if you get a ham radio, you can definitely, I don't think you can click that on the screen.
No, I was trying to see if that would work, but it's not. All right, get it out of there.
You can listen on a ham radio. You just can't talk on it unless you have a license. But you can actually, if you get online and look up ham radio channels local to you, you can program your ham radio and listen to the weather channel, the emergency channel, things like that. Even when when cell phones are down. Mm-hmm. So something that I program my ham radio to is just local channels, just to know what's going on. But that doesn't solve the communication with family issue. I mean, you can definitely look into some high-end walkie-talkies. They have, I think you can see some that have miles and miles of max communication distance, but a lot of times those are only tested in a flat, wide open field. So if you have buildings in between you or trees, if you're in the woods, that distance that you can communicate with the other radio can be greatly reduced. So you don't really know until you buy a specific kind and test it out for yourself. But that's something we haven't done a lot of with the walkie-talkies. I've had a few of them, and a lot of times the areas that I'm in have a lot of hills and trees, so they're limited to about a mile. That's kind of the max that I've seen something work really well. I know there's ads online for some, I can't remember the name of it now.
Rapid radio,
yeah,
it's a big one.
So that's something we do need to do on this channel here, because a lot of people have been asking about it. So
I've looked a little bit into the rapid radio.
We'll get our hands on one of those pretty soon.
Yeah, I know we've looked in a little bit. You need to get a subscription for the rapid radio.
Okay.
And that that works for some people. Sometimes it doesn't, because you're talking like $20, $30 a month, I think. And they have some some subscriptions you can turn off and on, depending, because some people will use them when they're out hunting, and then they may cancel the subscription or pause the subscription, I guess is a better term.
Mm-hmm. Any thoughts on Starlink?
Yeah, real quick, I did throw a couple different links in there. One's for Walmart, it's a NOCO charger, and then one is the Amazon one. So see if that helps people get started that direction. It's NOCO is the brand name, NOCO Boost. Just good all-purpose jump starter. Also, a couple comments I want to throw out here too is when it comes to teaching your kids about your situational awareness is when they're out and about with friends. I mean, obviously party life and bars and things like this can be dangerous situations. I love the quote from Mr. Miyagi to Daniel in one of the Karate Kids, the original, one of the first couple there. The best block is to not be there. You want to avoid trouble. Don't go to areas where the trouble is. If you're going to be in bar situations or party situations, do not lose control. Don't drink to the point of losing control of yourself. Stay sober. It's one thing to have a drink or two. It's another thing to lose that discipline and get past that. Highly recommend that is something, again, you have those conversations with your loved ones, and not to be so trusting of other people. We hear too many stories of college kids going off. Something happens at a party, something happens in a bar, someone gets drugged, someone gets robbed, someone gets sexually assaulted. We've got to be vigilant in those things of keeping self-control, discipline. Don't be so trusting of everybody around you. And then also make sure, I would highly recommend, to build confidence. These things are going to help build confidence, especially for the ladies out there, for guys too, but especially ladies out there. Develop the confidence level, and especially through things like learning a basic self-defense, whether it's just a self-defense class or learning a martial art of some sort like Taekwondo, but self-defense classes in general. And I recommend not just a one and done, but make sure you're doing it repeatedly, several times. You're doing it on a consistent basis if possible, even if it's every 6 months or something, so that you're getting a regular taste of what it is to be able to yell the right way, push, block, strike, gouge an eye, even throat punch. Okay, a very vital area there. Doesn't matter how big you are, muscle doesn't cover the trachea there. So these are important things to develop confidence, though, is learning self-defense and making sure you're staying very safe in environments around you where people are having a good time and enjoying a drink or two. You want to keep that discipline at a very high level. So really encourage those conversations with your loved ones as well. The whole thing with communication, son, we should address. This is a tough one. Oh, Ann Walter says Rapid Radio is $50 per year, first year free. Okay, I mean, if you want to jump into that, before we get to the Starlink question, I would say when it comes to communication, we have to realize that we may reach a point where we simply can't communicate with each other. And that's a tough one for us because we're so comfortable. I mean, right now, my son is in a different state than I am, and we can easily get on a link and do this video. We can FaceTime each other in this world. We can send pictures to each other. We can call each other from across the world. We're very used to that. That's because the infrastructure works. Satellite, cell towers, these types of things. If satellites go down, things like even rapid radio isn't going to work. Cell towers go down, and we've seen this with AT&T, Verizon, and others that have had, whether they're cyber attacks or some upgrade glitch of software, we've seen breaks in the consistency of the reliability. The communication will only work when the infrastructure is functioning the way it's designed to. That could be taken down through a cyber attack or just human error. So I will always recommend that you have conversations with your loved ones in advance when it comes to training for these types of skills, to stay safe, to be smart, spiritual conversations about faith and prayer, confession, the self-defense conversation, the staying out of bars and staying away from people that don't have self-control conversations, the I love you conversations. Don't hesitate to tell your kids and your loved ones what they mean to you regularly, so that if and when, heaven forbid, communication goes down, you have already made clear to them. Because to face it, the day is going to come when you're not going to be able to talk to your loved ones anymore, whether it's death or war. And I don't want to sound heavy and doom and gloom, but we know that that happens. And if something tragically happens and I have a heart attack tonight, I don't want my son here or any of my kids or any of my loved ones, my grandkids, anybody. When they saw me last, did I give them that love? Did I communicate with them that love? So keep that in mind as we're talking about if communications go down due to some tragedy, and they could very well happen. Let's make sure that we've already let our loved ones know what they mean to us and try to teach and instruct and help train along the way. All right. Anything else we got here, son?
Let's see here. I think you covered the one about
we didn't do Starlink.
If everything goes down. Starlink, I was in line to get it at my last house, but then we ended up moving, so I canceled that. But I do have a family member who does have Starlink. He loves it, as far as I know. The only thing I couldn't say, I'm not going to pretend like I'm an expert on this. I don't know how well it would work if the grid went down. I'm not sure what it's connected to or what they use for it. So again, kind of what you just said, Dad. Have those conversations and make a plan beforehand. That way, even if your contingency plan of communicating with your family doesn't work, you have some idea that your family members have a plan.
Right. Well, and that's one thing I know, just like in a situation, just as a real life situation for anybody watching, listening right now, my son and I, we're, I don't know how many hundreds of miles, his family lives away from me right now. And if anything really hits the fan, I know my son and he knows me, as I could say the same thing with my other children, that we understand each other well enough to know that we've even trained together in a variety of ways. I know my son is resourceful. I know all my kids have a resourcefulness to them. I know they have basic skills, and I know they have a really calm demeanor when it comes to handling, crisis and anxiety, or not anxiety, crisis and difficult situations without anxiety. And that's something that we've established beforehand. The thing that concerns me is with your loved ones and your family, crisis hits and you're thinking to yourself, oh, I know them. They won't know what to do. And then now there's worry because you're afraid your loved one isn't going to know what to do. Doesn't mean aren't going to be mistakes and problems. But it's kind of like, are we living a life of faith so that if we die, our loved ones will have an idea that we were pointing the right way when we died? You want to give your loved ones a great gift, teach them these basic things we're talking about, absolutely, but also live a life that when you die, although until the church canonizes us, we don't know where they are, but you live a life in a way that says, I know they loved God. I know they went to the sacraments. I know they loved the Blessed Mother. They wore a scapular, prayed the rosary, whatever it might be. They were pointing the right direction with a love for God and a relationship with God. That's a gift to give people, because you're going to live the rest of your life knowing that your loved one was trying to get to heaven. That's a great comfort. So that's a conversation to have too, and a way to live as well. Steve popped something in here about tire inflator, portable off-on air compressor for car, truck. That's great. I love it. The information is out there. Sharing it with each other is always a great thing to do. These are great things to share with your loved ones and your family members as well. How can people on a fixed income afford all this prepping? I am very worried, Jeff's asking. Jeff, I'll put it this way. I understand the fixed income. We're not rolling in it either. We would budget money out for things and start to save. If it comes to things like entertainment, I don't know where people are. Everybody's at a different place. Cancel the Netflix or the Amazon Prime or whatever it might be. Maybe you're putting 15 or 20 bucks a month into Hulu or whatever a platform might be. There are a lot of people that are on fixed incomes, but they're still spending money on things that are entertainment based. We need a little of that. That's fine. Not putting that down, but there's a way to budget 10 bucks a month, $5 a month. There's a little bit we can pull out here, and here to get a $15 tire patch kit, and then eventually work up to a $60, air compressor that you can keep in your vehicle. It can be reached. We're not talking about thousands of dollars with the stuff that we talked about tonight. In fact, a backpack for 20 bucks from Walmart is a great start. We did all of that. And then little by little, you just add a few things to it. You add a small med kit, you add a tourniquet, you add some emergency bandages. You can take free classes, in some places with Red Cross, CPR classes, and some of those classes might be a small fee in some areas, but in some areas they're free. So check with the local fire department and say, hey, are there any free training classes for CPR, stop bleed classes, things of that nature? You can find those, and a lot of times they're free. So prepping isn't just equipment. That's part of it. We always believe in things like a really good quality flashlight. You can buy a $10 one, or you can buy an $80 one or a $100 flashlight. Obviously, you get the more expensive. At times, you're going to get a better metal. It can be dropped. It can be submerged in water. It can handle things better, rechargeable batteries and so forth. But start with the $5 or $10 one if you have to. At least you have something, and you're moving the right direction with it. So those are things I would say when it comes to the prepping costing a lot. We start with little things and we build from there. I don't know, son, if you got any comment on that as well.
Yeah, I mean, a saying we have here, we say a lot, is gear doesn't equal skill either. So, I mean, if you have access to the internet, which, we know you do because you're watching this, you can get on YouTube and just look up any skills that you may be lacking in, and, take everything with a grain of salt and make sure you're learning from a reliable source. But the other thing I would say is just prioritize, something we say here a lot is water and food obviously is the most important thing first that you should be preparing in, because you can go 3 days without water and 3 weeks without food. So if something really bad goes wrong, you're going to need water right away. So,
Right.
Don't prioritize a tire repair kit or a air compressor if you don't have maybe 3 weeks worth of water or even 3 days worth of water in your home.
Right.
Definitely start with that, and that honestly is probably one of the cheapest things you can do. You can find some old clean containers, glass, plastic, whatever you got, and fill it up with tap water at the very least,
Right.
and then maybe buy a small mini Sawyer kit. So if you're not even able to stabilize the water and it gets a little murky just sitting in your house for a while, you still have that filter that you can then use and drink later. That'd be a last resort sort of thing, but it'll keep you alive.
Yeah. Keeps you alive. Yeah.
And that's kind of the point of preparing, right? Is to just be able to make it through, without serious injury or sickness. So that's the other thing I would say is just prioritize, water, food, make sure your shelter is good. And then you can move on to the gear after that. But those basic needs at the beginning may not seem as cool or as fun to a lot of people, but they are, all the gear means nothing if you don't have any water to drink. So
you'll be able to use it for about 2 to 3 days and you'll be dead if you don't have any water. I mean, honestly, you got about 3 days without water. And actually after the first day, you're really going to, if you're not having any fluids in the first day and a half, you're going to be so disoriented and out of it from dehydration. It's going to be a brutal situation.
I mean, if I go a few hours without water, I notice it, go 12 hours without water, your head starts to pound. I mean, it gets bad pretty quick. So just don't overlook those simple little things. Like you think prepping, you think bunkers and, a huge arsenal and all sorts of gear. But, sometimes just having several gallons of water in your house is going to be what saves your life.
Right. Right. Good question here. Jeff's asking, what about all the Virgin Mary medicinal cares? I'm not sure what you mean exactly by that, but if you're referring to the messages and alleged messages that are out there about where the Blessed Mother is saying this, that, and the other thing about things like, grapes and a little bit of oil and so forth and such. There are a lot of, I say alleged because they haven't approved by the church, messages out there of these things. And I can't speak we wouldn't want to say whether or not they're authentic. But what I will say is in the big picture in the history of life, going back to even Our Lady of Fatima, who's over my left shoulder all the time, when she spoke of a second world war that would come, she spoke of this tragedy because of man's sin. And when it happened, this very prophetic chastisement that we were told would happen if man didn't stop offending God involved not just the spiritual complication of things, but the very natural physical elements of things that were needed for people to survive. Everything we're talking about, everything and more: food, water, defense, medicine, bandages, protection, shelter. All of these pieces play a part anytime heaven allows chastisement in this world. And we have to just kind of go off the history and track record of any chastisement that God has allowed in the world. Any tragedy, almost every single time, involves natural physical components, such as exactly what we're talking about: water, food, medicine, shelter, care, protection, defense, and so forth. And so I would say that the first thing that we think about when there's a war, for example, is children are hungry. We've got to get them fed. We've got to find food, shelter, protection, water. People are wounded. They need medicine. They need care. They need medical care. These are very, very basic things that everybody needs. These alleged messages, and again, I say alleged, are basically telling us that there might be some other things that God is going to do through these other means, in which case he can do that if he so chooses to. But the majority of people still, based on the history of our church and of faith and of other events that have happened, always seems to resort to the need for these basic physical pieces of the puzzle. The corporal works of mercy are something we need to be not ignoring here. Feed the hungry, give drink to the thirsty, shelter the homeless, clothe the naked, and so forth, care for the sick. These are all things that we're talking about here. It's all very much part of our faith, is to be able to do these very physical things. Son, I just think that, I've watched all of you that have, my kids, all of you. And I love the fact that all of you at different places at different times all have that certain kind of something inside your mind that just doesn't seem to panic when things get hard. You all seem to have that very kind of strong ability to be settled in, just like you said, there's a solution somewhere in this. We can figure this out. You all seem to do a great job at that.
Well, it's like a duck, right? Look calm on the surface, but underneath.
I don't like crazy.
So I'm glad it appears that way.
Yeah. Well, at least everybody around you sees the calm, and that
Yeah.
helps so much when it comes to that. All right. Anything else you got to share, son? I know we're going
that about wraps it up for tonight.
Okay. All right, everybody. Hey, we hope this helps. Again, these are conversations to start having. If you haven't been having, and if you have been having these conversations with your loved ones, hopefully this gives you some information. You know, I always feel like these can be very successful, and they can be a victory for everybody if we just remember a couple of key things. You know, keep the gas tank in a good place in case you got to have some extra gas in case there's an emergency and you got to hustle fast or gas stations go down. Keep some extra cash on hand if you can. If you can keep $20, I remember my mom, if I'm not mistaken, my mom, when my sisters who are all older than me, when they'd go on dates, my mom would always tell them, make sure you keep like a quarter or a dime, back when payphones were like 10 cents or 25 cents to make a phone call. Keep an extra quarter or dime, whatever it was for the payphone, in your sock. In case there's an emergency and you have to walk somewhere, you can go to a payphone. You'll always have at least enough change to make a phone call. And I think that mindset is good. So we talk about keep a little extra cash in your wallet or in your purse, ladies. You know, make sure you've got that extra, maybe 20 or 50 or $100 or more if you can, depending on your situation. Because I know, son, you've told the story before. Tell us the story, if you don't mind, again about the gas station in Kansas in the snowstorm.
Yeah, we were traveling back from Texas to Nebraska, and weather took a turn for the worst, and we were mid-Kansas, so, you know, plains, wind probably 40 miles an hour, just ice storm. Everybody's crawling about 15, 20 miles an hour on the interstate. And we get to a gas station. I'm on E, and there's lines, you know, coming out of the gas station. Power's out. You can tell they're on a generator at that point because there's only a few bulbs working. And I go inside to prepay for a pump, and they said you can't use a card because the internet's down. And so I looked at my wallet, and I had, you know, no cash. And no one in the car had enough cash for gas either. So we got to drive on E to the next gas station up the road, hoping it had power. And at the time I had my wife. I only had 2 kids at the time. One of them was just a baby. And then my mother-in-law and my grandmother-in-law. So a van full of people counting on me to get them somewhere safe and warm, because it was, you know, about -15 with the wind chill. And here I was on empty with no cash and the power out everywhere. So needless to say, that situation has never happened again, and I doubt it ever will, because guess what I'm always carrying now. So it was a hard look. Thankfully, we found the gas station. Everything was fine. Everybody, you know, we had enough gas to get from A to B, but it was poor planning on my part. I didn't have enough cash. I didn't stop earlier. And I didn't plan for the weather to be that bad. So there was a few failures in the system on that trip. We were also just in a hurry. You know, when you're in a hurry and trying to hit a deadline, you know, I think sometimes you can get embarrassed to try to slow people down, when really I should have just said, hey, we're going to slow the trip down and do this safely. But, you know, hindsight's 20.
And it's a great example, and I think it's a great eye-opener for all of us. And I know there are people out there who fall into the category of, well, we're just going to trust God and he'll take care of things. And I believe in that, but I also believe that a big part of trusting God is that God gives us free will and common sense. And the common sense is that, you know, when something like that happens, like what you went through, and you told me that, and I didn't always carry much extra cash either, but after your story, after you experienced that, I started carrying more. You know, and even if I've only got an extra $50 in my wallet, it sits in a place of the wallet that is emergency only, you know, and the idea is, let's make sure that we have set this aside and use our common sense combined with our free will, because God works through ordinary means all the time. Quick story on that is I drove 5 hours across Nebraska one day to give a talk at a church way out by the Colorado state line when I lived in Nebraska. And I had a terrible headache when I got there, and I went to the priest. And while the different people who were working for me in my ministry were unloading the trailer and setting things up, I went to the priest right away and say, Father, we're here. Good to meet you. Thanks for inviting us. Hey, by the way, I have a terrible headache. Do you have any special blessings or healing prayers? I was half joking, half serious. And he put his head down and put his hand to his forehead, closed his eyes and said, yes, hold on a second. And I'm thinking, wow, he's got something. I'm going to get a healing here or something. He's going to take my headache away. And he said, yes, the Lord is speaking to me. I said, okay, what did he say? And he said, the Lord says that you need to take an aspirin. And the whole point of that story is, and he said this next, God works through ordinary means. Most of the time, God works through ordinary means. You know, the car accident took place here in town, son, over there by the Coles on Broadway a couple days ago. And it was a Suburban that got broadside, a T-bone on the driver's side, spun the thing around. All the Broadway was backed up. As you know, it can get backed up anyway here in Tyler. And it was a mess. Well, what's the ordinary means that God's going to use? Well, there were paramedics there. And the paramedics were seeing to the people that were injured. And so our life, the way God has structured it, is largely about free will and common sense. And common sense says, you know what? If I don't have enough gas in the gas tank and I got to make a long road trip, I go to the gas station and gas up. If my oil light is on, I got to get the oil checked. If I got low pressure in a tire, I have to add air to that tire, and so forth and so forth. So we encourage everybody to really take seriously the spiritual man and woman is also the practical, rational, intelligent man and woman, and takes the steps that are common sense steps to be better prepared, because that's how God has structured it largely. He's placed us in a world where these things are just part of our life. If you love people, help them by teaching them and giving them the example of these things that we've talked about tonight in being better prepared. It's a great way to open the door to many other areas of their life to help them be better disciplined and better prepared for other things that they may run into. Go to brcoalition.com for more. We have free downloads out there, again, on the Go Bag, but also other items as well, spiritual warfare pieces. And then we have other courses as well that you can look at purchasing if you're interested. They are out there at brcoalition.com. And thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you, Naniki there. I think if I pronounced that right. And Michael, thank you. Thank you so much. God bless all of you. We hope you have an amazing, blessed, and Merry Christmas and New Year. And we plan to be back with another free event like this to talk about something else in January to help people be better prepared, body, mind, and soul. Son, anything you'd like to say before we fade away?
No, I think that's it. You covered it.
Okay. All right, everybody. God bless and strengthen you all. And we look forward to seeing you again real soon. Take care.